Hi, first grade. We are back again today with session 2, 20 steps on the path. Hansel and Gretel's path. Once they got it looking beautiful, lots more people started coming to the woods, and they started to bring picnic baskets in so they could have lots of fun. And the forest rang out with the sounds of children laughing and playing, but pretty soon Hansel and Gretel started finding garbage along the trail. They found apple cores, orange and banana peels, old napkins, and they realized that they had forgotten to provide trash cans. So they took care of it right away, and now the paths have fences, benches, trash cans, and pots filled with flowers. So our fence section is still 10, our bench is 5. Now we have a trash can that is 2 steps, and our flower pot is still 1. How long is the section of this path? And how do you know? Well, we have a fence section. It's worth 10 steps. We have another fence section, and that's worth 10 steps. So we would add those two numbers together. 10 plus 10 equals 20. Now let's go on to some other things on our path. So now write and solve an addition equation to find out how long each path section is. So if we use our key up here at the top, our key reminds us how many steps each of these things are. A bench is worth 5 steps. Another bench would be equal to 5 steps. And a fence section is worth 10 steps. Not real easy to write with my finger here. So what would the addition equation be to find out how long this path section is? Well, we would take our first 5, we would add it to our next 5, and we would add it to our next section, which is a 10. And take a look there, we have 3 add-ins. And we were talking about that in Number Corner. Do you remember when we have 3 add-ins that we want to look at just 2 of them to start with? Which 2 would we put together to help us here? Remember, if we want to, the easiest one is to look for a 10 because adding to 10s is really easy. So now, once I've changed that, now I have 5 plus 5 is 10, and 10 plus 10 equals 20. Good. Try again. Okay, next up, our next slide. Whoops. We have another path section here. This shows our fence first, and then a bench, and a bench. See if you can figure out how long the path section is. If you have a piece of paper, you could even write the equation down. So our equation for this, we have a fence section that is worth 10 plus a bench on our path section that's worth 5 plus another bench section that is worth 5. Again, we have 3 add-ins in our equation. We want to look for a 10. We want to look for doubles. We want to look for something that will help it make it easier for us to add all 3 of the add-ins. So now I've changed it again to 10 plus 10, and our path section is 20 steps long. Here's another path section. We're going to have a lot of add-ins to add this one. Take a look. Here's our fence section. Remember, our fence section is worth 10. We're going to add that to our flower pots. Do you remember how much each of our flower pots is worth? Each one of these is worth 1, and I would need to make sure that I put each of those ones into my equation. So 1 plus 1 plus 1, and we've taken care of all the flower pots. Now we're to the trash can. Remember that trash can is something that was added today, and if we go up to our key, we can see that it's worth 2 steps, and we still have another bench. That bench is worth 5. Take a look at all these add-ins that we have in our equation. So again, we're going to treat this just like we would if we had 3. We're going to see if we can put some things together. So I'm going to take these 3 ones, and I know that they make a 3. And guess what? I'm going to use that 3 again because I know that 3 and that 2 can make a 5. Now, we have to remember that once we've used this 3, we don't want to count it a second time. So I have to add my 10 plus my 5 plus this extra 5 here. Don't get confused when you start marking down or marking up above. So 10 plus 5 again is another way to make a 20. Here's another path section. How much is that bench worth? That bench is worth 5. How much is the fence worth? That fence is worth 10. How much are our flower pots worth? Remember, we have to count them each as a 1. So we have 1 plus 1. And now we have that trash can. Trash can was new to us today. 2 plus 1 more flower pot. Now we have some things all spread out here. Sometimes we might want to look at how we can add not just 2 numbers together, but if I go here, 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 2 is 4, 1 and 1 is, or 2 and 4 and 1 is 5. I get that to that same exact equation that we've had all along, a 5 plus 10 plus 5. And even though they're in a different order, they equal the same thing. I'm getting close to my picture there. Okay, so let's see what we have next. So if you want to go to our student book, you can click on the link that is going to be in, probably not here, but in the slides that are in your Schoology folder, page 61, and you can practice some of this. You can also work on workplaces if you'd like to, and I will see you tomorrow for section 3.